To talk about diet and nutrition. And I want to preface this by saying that it really it used to not be hard. It used to be pretty straightforward, and just now it's not. The food system is stacked against us, and the food system stacked against us. The scientists have examined us. They have things like bliss point, so that they know what the proper amount of sweet and the proper amount of salt and the proper amount of crunch and that mouth feel makes it good. So, but tonight we're going to answer a few questions on what should I eat. So, what should people eat?
They should eat what's good for them. I don't eat much because I know what's good for me.
Honestly, you should be able to eat any type of food that is in its original kind of natural organic state. Foods that typically come in packages and boxes and cans and have a list of ingredients with them, those really aren't that good.
Well, even in their natural state, some things are just really not that good because they've been sprayed or washed.
Yes. And so we say that because if you look at this is a piece of Parmesan Reggiano. So you can go get Parmesan cheese that from the store, and it comes in a little green can and you can sprinkle it, but
that's not real cheese. That's got fillers in there that is equivalent to cardboard. And so I'm not even going to say that I didn't buy shreds, but then I know a lot, but I don't know everything. And then I was told that they toss those shreds in chemicals and fillers to keep them from clumping.
They call them anti-caking agents.
And so now I'm not going to do that anymore. So it takes a little more time. It tastes way better. But just because it's also in its original packaging, you got to think about where it actually came from and how it was prepared or brought to you, because pesticides, chemicals, washes, things get put on them.
So to look at is if you go to, let me type it into the comments. If you go to ewg.org, that has the clean 15 and the dirty dozen. So we have a bunch of grapes here, and we eat grapes.
Well, rarely, but the day I bought some,
yeah,
we don't eat them a lot. They're like little treats, but I bought those to go on brie
and a salad. But some people will tell you don't eat grapes because of the sugar content. Oh, it's a high glycemic food. But red grapes have great polyphenols. So it's a whole lot easier to stay healthy than it is to get healthy.
Well, and grapes also, you're eating the whole grape, so you're getting the fiber.
And the skin and whatever. So going back to what should I eat, you should be able to go into the grocery store and shop along the periphery, meaning the outside. And so in our local JC and even Walmart, the periphery of the grocery store is where the whole foods are. And we have tons of fun cooking. Tonight she made spaghetti. And, I was going to show you we get our meats from either the Amish or P&Y Farms. We go to places that we trust. We know they are conscientious of chemicals and things like that. Because anymore, the body burden, the older you get, the more you have to watch that, because things just don't work the way that they used to.
Well, so we like to research and we keep running down our little rabbit holes, but I don't like chicken. Chicken tastes really gross to me, rotten, and it doesn't taste good. And then we found out that when they butcher, they actually soak poultry in disinfectants. And so
didn't they dip that in ammonia too?
They injected larger animals with ammonia, And then, but chickens, I don't know, like I've never butchered chickens or I've never been to a packaging plant. But the information we got is they dipped them. Actually, first of all, they're horrifically treated and butchered. And then the meat is treated badly even after, so to defeather it and stuff. But then it's dipped in chemicals to keep down bacteria. But I taste it. And so it tastes absolutely yucky to me. But we went to the Amish and they told us, hey, you need to try the chicken. And their chickens are raised on pasture, like they eat bugs and things like that. And that meat was very buttery. It was very tender and super flavorful. But they don't use antibiotics. They don't. I think they have to process them according to the FDA regulations, but they have tweaked them so they do not soak them in disinfectants. They spray them with apple cider vinegar.
So think about this. The reason why conventionally raised cows and conventionally raised, we should call them CAFO, confined feeding operations. These things confine the animal in a very small cage because space is money to them. And when they confine these animals, the animals are in their own feces, and so that sticks to their legs and stuff. If you go see a cow that lives in a cage, it's dirty. If you go see a cow that's out to pasture, it's not dirt. It doesn't have crap sitting all over it. Its legs aren't covered in gunk. And so it's not exposed to the bacteria that these other animals are exposed to. They're just not living in their own feces. And so you should be able to look at a food and know what the food is. And so one of the reasons why you can't eat what you want, because the crazy thing to me is I get patients in and, I used to be able to eat this and now I have acid reflux. Now I get bloating and gas. Now I have gastroparesis. And so all these things kind of happen to people. And what happens, you lose oral tolerance first. So once again, those of you that follow us have heard me say this, but look at your nails. And if you can't see those whites on your nails, the lunulas, if you look at a tongue and you see scalloping on the outsides, those are signs of nutritional deficiencies. Now, there can be a lot of other things too. So you got to sit down and you have to vet that out as a doctor. But for the most part, if you know that you're relatively healthy and you think you have a good diet and you look down at your nails and you see white flecks in your nails, you're probably not absorbing your protein for some reason. And that could be anything from low hydrochloric acid to dysbiosis to whatever. But if you look at your tongue and you also see those scallops in the side of the tongue, think of the outer part of a pie crust, how it has the little loops, that's scalloping. If you see that on the tongue or indentations on the tongue, I have patients tell me all the time, my tongue's just too big for my mouth. No, you probably got a B vitamin deficiency, number one, because that's actually been very correlated.
Or they're anemic, because when people, just side note, I like side notes, just a nugget for the night. If you are always wanting to chomp ice, or if you know somebody that's always chomping on ice, that's actually because most likely you're anemic and you want the ice because it's cold and it chills the tongue, so it keeps it from swelling. So if you know somebody that's always chomping on ice, they probably have a deficiency. And if you correct the deficiency, they won't chomp ice anymore. That'd be me. I would wake up in the middle of the night to go to the Bigfoot to get ice to chomp on. And I literally had ice by my side 24/7.
And then on the tongue, that also says that there's nutritional deficiencies. And so you've got to figure that out, because if you're a chiropractic patient, if you're not coming in and eating good food, when I adjust you, you're not going to hold the adjustment. So there's a problem there. If my surgery, if I'm not eating good food, I'm going to get a keloid. This is going to scar. The body's going to do what it can. But if I'm giving it good food, good protein, good polyphenols, good bioflavonoids, if you're giving the body that, then it has the building blocks that it needs to do what it needs to do. And so that's why it's so vitally important to eat real food and learn how to cook. I mean, this amazes me that they hate eating the same foods over and over. And I fall into that. This woman loves, and I love her to death, but she loves sweet potatoes.
No, I have a very limited diet and it doesn't hurt me. So I love what doesn't hurt me. So I will eat it every single meal, every single day.
And I like a little more variety for my gut. And so that's great. Okay, functional medicine hat on. If you eat a very limited diet, you have to stay within that guidelines. We work together and we find that. We were at a farm to table restaurant this weekend, and we stay guidelines. So it's not hard, and especially if you cook. So, so if you are needing to cook foods, there are some great, if you type in paleo lasagna sorry, there's supposed to be an L there. Evidently I didn't hit it. If you type in paleo lasagna recipe, they will give you a pretty healthy recipe for lasagna. You can do that with anything that you're making and eating. And that's a way you can search. You can put in paleo, you can put in vegan, you can put in vegetarian. And on that note, that's a good way to search for these things. But on that note, let's talk about diets and using diets for health. So nutrition, let's just wrap it up real quick. You should be able to eat whole foods. If you can't get organic foods, make sure you're washing your foods, because there's enough crap in the water that we don't need to deal with it on the food too. Go to the EWG that was in the chat and look at the Dirty Dozen. And peaches were on there, blueberries were on there, grapes were on there, peppers were on there. You've got to clean those things. You've got to make sure you're not eating those things. When your meats have things that break down fat, emulsifiers, or if you're eating candy, lots of candies have emulsifiers. Well, that's all your gut is. Your gut is just lined with fat, basically. That's an oversimplification, but the emulsifiers work on it also. So you search terms like paleo lasagna or keto lasagna or whatever. But let's talk about the diets. Why should somebody use a diet?
There's lots of reasons why you would use a diet. It could be for health, it could be for wellness, or they just may need to follow something, because some people just need something to tell them what to do. But
so for us,
I giggle and say, well, you can eat whatever you want, but you can die too.
Yeah. Why can't you eat what you want? You lose oral tolerance, you tear the gut up, and then it's a long, slow death. And that death is usually riddled with and accompanied by lots of comorbidities, obesity, arthritis, lupus, God, what else? I mean, Crohn's disease, diarrhea, constipation, whatever the case may be. But we use diets to help people come back. Remember what I said earlier. It's a whole lot easier to stay healthy than it is to get healthy. And we will have people come into us all the time that say, I don't have any issues. I can eat anything I want. And we will use an elimination diet with them. It's a double-edged sword because you're going to become sensitive to the things that are bad for you. Because once the body gets rid of them, camera hog.
She was ready at 6:58.
So once people come into us for help, we will use the elimination diet. And our experience with the elimination diet is people will clear these things out and their body will become almost hypersensitive to things. And that's a good and a bad thing, because if you had something that you just absolutely loved before and it's on your sensitive list, it sucks because you want it, you eat it, and you hurt or pay for it. I have lots of patients that absolutely love keto. Keto is great for the purpose of resensitizing the cells to insulin. And I've said that before, and I'll say it again. You should only be on that for about 2 weeks, because what happens after the 2 weeks?
Well, it starts causing inflammation. But if you're also, another key point is if you're on a keto diet, make sure you are getting extremely good organic pasture raised meat and
Proteins,
dairy.
yeah.
Otherwise, you're filling your body full of stuff that it can't get rid of.
And not only that, make sure your gallbladder's working real well, because if your gallbladder's not working well and you go on a high fat, moderately high protein, and then typically a very low fiber, low carbohydrate diet, you are just asking for trouble. And that's why I say you use it for about 2 weeks and then you get off of it. Vegetarian is great, but
Same thing. You have to eat high quality food.
yep, not only high quality food, but I'm lazy. And I am all about giving my body the easiest things to digest. And so you can get your B vitamins from your animal proteins very easily. You get your amino acids from them very easily. You know, you don't have to fight with it as you do when you're vegan and vegetarian. And they'll come at me and say, oh, hey, you can get it in a, yes, you can, just not as easily. And so prescribed diets are like a medication. They're for a health problem, and to try to resolve that and bring you as close to baseline as we can get you. How do you shop for health?
How do you shop for health?
Yeah, so if you're in the grocery store, how do you shop for health?
Oh, you go around the perimeter. Don't go into the aisles. Although there's certain things we say we don't buy any processed food, but we do buy some things. But you can buy really high quality tomato sauce and things like that. You're going to pay for it, but it has like 3 ingredients. So I'm not saying there's nothing good inside of those aisles, but usually you're safe if you're going to get whole food most of the time around the perimeters, because you're going to get your meats, your dairy. You have to pay attention to what you're buying, of course, your fresh vegetables and fruits.
Read your ingredients. If you're buying packaged foods, keep your ingredients very low and make sure you know what the heck it is. Because if you don't know what the heck it is, it shouldn't go into your body. Your body is a very simple machine, believe it or not. And it wants very simple foods. And if dibromotriethylene, blah, blah, blah in there, not for it. It's not that it can't handle it. It's a fabulous machine, but you're going to increase body burden and you're going to open yourself up to illness and dysfunction. So let's see. Oh, here's a good one. How do you get your family eating better?
Well, Like you just raise them right from the start. It's got to taste good, but I think sometimes it tastes good and it just looks a little weird. So if you get them involved and they usually will eat it.
That's number one.
It needs to taste good. And actually, we don't eat anything that doesn't taste good because I'm not above throwing it right out the door. But get them involved and let them help you.
How many spices do you think we have?
Too many. We literally have a pantry door full. We have a cabinet completely filled.
That cabinet.
We have them overflowing into
that right there is all spices. That's all spices. And they're in the pantry. So
the pantry really holds cooking equipment and spice.
And so when you're thinking about spices, the thing to think about spices are this. A, they're the second most nutrient dense food. So it's those are little vitamins in that little dried stuff. And the next thing to do
along with spices, you got to make sure they're organic. It's going to be the same. Like your 99-cent spices have a lot of fillers in them. So just spend the extra money and get the organically grown spices because they're going to taste way better.
Or if you have a green thumb, yes, grow them. And the other way to get the family eating, don't buy it.
Oh yeah, the little ones, if you don't bring it to the house, they can't eat it because they can't go get it.
And we have people that we know that their kids haven't had a soda until they went to grade school. They didn't eat candy, and they had, cookies and cakes, but they didn't have Smarties, and they didn't have all that junk. I mean, they had sweets. And that's the thing. If you're healthy, if you're metabolically healthy and you don't have diabetes and your insulin works, you can take the hit. Eat cookies and they're not going to hurt you. And that's the whole thing about being pretty healthy.
Well, I mean, they're meant to be treats.
Yes.
Like you can't eat cookies every day. You shouldn't eat cookies every day.
No.
But you can treat yourself every once in a while.
And I mean, since I graduated college, I've had the ability to buy whatever I want, whenever I want, and I did. And in my late 20s and early 30s, I got up to almost 300 pounds. And I was going to Dairy Queen, loved blizzards, and was going to eat wherever, and always got a dessert and sweets and stuff like that. And it just wrecked me metabolically. And now I'm back to the point to where my thing there is once I stopped and started to control my child of I want, and I want it to be sweet and this, that, and the other. And then once in a while, instead of getting the extra large blizzard, I will get the little blizzard. It satisfies that yearning to be, 20 again. And it's done. You're good. You go.
Yeah, but there's a lot of people that eat healthy and don't treat themselves, and they're still overweight. So it's not always about food.
Well, but that's where we come in. That's where we start to dig into what are we looking like toxicity wise? How much water are you holding? What's the deal with your phase angle? And it takes time, because do you see a halo here or here? No, we're not Jesus. We're not God. We don't know it all. We know how to work to figure it out.
We know how it's supposed to work.
Yep.
But we still struggle with it ourselves.
Yeah.
Not because we're not doing what we say we do, just that bodies just have a mind of their own.
Well, at 53, if I go on a bender for sweets, I'm going to pick up 5 pounds of water weight. And then I got to go work it off. And there was a time not too recently that I just didn't want, well, I couldn't. We're desk and whatnot, and you just don't leave. And so it makes it hard, but luckily I'm bouncing back pretty quickly. So, and then there's injuries. I mean, there's a lot of, if you are in a spot that you don't like with your health, with your physical fitness, with any of that, a nutrition is high on the scale of things that will fix a lot. But you can train back in physical fitness. You can eat your way to good health, but you still have to start to dig into, why have I lost this baseline stuff in the first place, especially if you eat like her. If you eat like her biggest sin is are crackers.
Well, I get sick and then I'll have a cracker to settle my stomach and then it's easy. So then I've got a pack of crackers. But I have tried to buy better crackers, but then I'm like, I just won't have crackers at all. But that's it used to be a corn chip, but I'm highly corn. But we're just like everybody else. And we also understand that, you know, you have families and bills and stress, and you, not everybody can go buy grass fed, pasture raised, organically grown, whatever. But just do better tomorrow than you did today. And you keep doing that, and then you'll get where you're going.
Yep. And so that's how you get the family to eating better is just don't buy it and bring it in the house.
Well, I've got where I won't even eat out really unless it's colorful. Because if I look at my plate and there's, where'd we go? Thai?
Yeah, it's
Thai
all
food?
brown.
And I shouldn't eat it. It just gagged me. To look at it on my plate just gagged me. I'm so spoiled that my plate, the palette of the rainbow on it. I just don't like it. It doesn't appeal to my eyes, so I'm not going to put it in my belly.
And that's the big thing. It shouldn't be hard. It might be in the beginning. Most of our functional medicine patients, it's hard in the beginning. And once they start to navigate their bodies and what their bodies tell them, and they start to take care of the nutritional deficiencies, they correct the microbiome, then a lot of things fall into place, and they get to enjoy grapes and apples and pears and watermelon and stuff like that again. And you should be able to. That's the thing.
Well, and if you're eating really good and you're eating clean and you're still having problems, then just delve a little deeper, because people with food sensitivities, they can be eating the best of food available. And it could be a grape and apples and all the things, but you can be very sensitive to them and they just don't work with you. So if you're eating well and you know you are, and you're washing your food and you're preparing it like it's supposed to be, and you're still not feeling well, then just dig a little deeper, because just because it's good food doesn't mean it's good food for you.
Yeah. So that's kind of the whole. This actually needs to be like a day long, and we need to go through the grocery store, and we need to go shopping together, and we need to go look at setting up a grocery list. Let me tell you, it's a whole lot more expensive if you have a mixed house. So if you have conventional foods and then you try to have healthy food in there, let me tell you what happens. You eat the conventional food, and it does what it is absolutely designed to do. Go look up Bliss Point. It's a scary thing, but it is designed to eat more. That's why you are a consumer. And so typically the thing that it works on is the dopamine pathway. It's generally sugar. It's generally insulin. It generally spikes all of those things. And what happens? You are then hungry 30 to 45 minutes later. Whereas try to overeat on apples. I dare you, because you will get sick before you overeat apples. Grapes, not so much. I mean, I can probably overeat on grapes, but apples have so much fiber in them. No. And that's the thing. Conventional foods are designed to make you want them and to want to eat more. So if you have conventional foods with healthy foods, yeah, you're going to burn through it. Your grocery bill is going to be incredible. Get rid of the Cheetos, get rid of the chips, unless you make them. I mean, go get a dehydrator, make your own chips, and season them with garlic and whatever else. Then you're probably not going to have the same problem. Agreed?